What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Mosul breakdown and spoiler review. This was a surprisingly decent action movie produced by the Russos. It's an American-made movie but is entirely in Arabic, as there's not even the usual English audio option in the menus. It's the next movie backed by the MCU gods themselves, the Russos, who also helped make Extraction that came out earlier this year. Itself was an action movie set in Bangladesh. The Russos seem to be bucking the trend of action movies in the usual locales and presenting some nice different stories of global action, which I do really appreciate. Mosul is of course a true story and based on the 2016-2017 Battle of Mosul in Iraq, where native forces tried to fight back the incursions of ISIS coming through from Syria, who were also referred to as Daesh. The main plot is actually inspired by a 2017 New Yorker article about the real-life SWAT team made up of locals from Mosul itself. The movie starts near the end of the Battle of Mosul, and the SWAT team have fought every single day in the bloody battle against Daesh. Regular police are holed up in a firefight as the SWAT team arrive to save the day. They are seemingly mythical in force that have been disavowed by the government. They are seemingly the Iraqi A-Team, SEAL Team 6, and the Expendables, all rolled into one, except they don't have a muscle-bound, steroid-induced superhero version of a leader, but they've got an unassuming leader, which I thought was really cool. And while that is of course based on fact, it's again a nice buck of trend of the usual hulking characters. A rookie officer is caught up in this fight as his uncle was sadly killed in the firefight, and is allowed to join the SWAT team, as losing a member to ISIS is a sort of initiation, but his partner is not allowed to join. But he's also not an enemy. He's not on their list. At least they don't know that he is an enemy just yet. The SWAT team execute the prisoners, which I presume is retaliation for the SWAT members also being executed by Daesh if they are caught, because they killed so many of those forces. And they don't have the same ultimatum to swap sides that the regular Iraqi army would actually get. Now, with the rookie in tow, who has only been on the force 2 months, and yes, they bucked all the trends in action, but this is a trend which has not been bucked and reminds me of the Dredd movie, which saw Judge Anderson only on the force a couple of months. They moved to a hotel base, which is actually where the real SWAT team had their base, and the real team had over 80 members there, and the real team went out with only half of them to go and take the town that they did later in the movie. And interesting as well, only one member of each family were allowed, so there was no Saving Private Ryan situation there. The rookie's partner arrives and marks the location of the SWAT for Daesh, as it's revealed he's a turncoat and paid off by the evil people themselves, as the hotel is bombed and they lose members of the SWAT. And this explosion did actually happen in real life, albeit it was played out just a tad different. They tool up and leave to get to their end goal, which we don't know yet, but it was one of the members' family, which I think might be true, as a member of the SWAT team moved their family to an ISIS-controlled area, which they were hoping to liberate very soon. We hear the propaganda from the enemy, which is similar to Da 5 Blood's Viet Cong radio station and different things that we've had throughout war movies, of course. And I love how we see the different cultures in war. A war that was a result of the West interfering, and I won't go too much into the politics there, but I hope we can have a similar movie set in the Ukraine war-torn border, or possibly the Crimea someday. The acting was very good in this movie, with the gruff leader portraying an intimidating figure over his team and demanding respect without being a usual shouty army leader we get in Western stories. But the character is like his real-life counterpart and is described in that New Yorker article, which I will put in the description below. We see how generally good the squad are as they try to convince some kids to leave the town and take one with them as they cross the border into a federal controlled region and use their gravitas they have and their reputation to force this kid over onto a family who have also fled, but he does pay them for their trouble there. This isn't some sort of dark force CIA special force dodgy team. These are simply men who want to save their city from invaders and brutality. They get through the border having to bribe federal police as they're disobeying orders as they were sent to defend a village away from Mosul, just like real life, and disobeyed orders to fight inside Mosul, as they were so eager to get into the fight, as the Iraqi army fled, leaving all of their weapons and vehicles without a fight, meaning Daesh were armed to the teeth. In reality, they were also disavowed, and one of them even had a forced divorce by the state from their wife due to their actions. We learn later in the movie the leader of the SWAT used to be a homicide detective, and a lot of people were put in prison by the leader, and when, of course, these prisons were taken by Daesh, well, they freed the absolute criminals who then told just exactly who this team are. I really like that, and it gives an interesting backstory to the leader. They reach a heavily guarded ISIS city as civilians are being shot, which did happen in real life as they surrounded their bases and command centres with civilians, so drone or bombing strikes could not happen lest they actually hit civilians. They arrive, however, a drone, I think it was, hits them, and an Iranian soldier talks to them as they try to trade ammo for cigarettes as they go to meet him. We get a glimpse into this deep rivalry which goes back decades, even before the Iraq-Iran war that preceded the first US Gulf War. Now, he is part of the Popular Mobilization Force, a group of hardline militias that was supported by Iran and also allowed by the Iraq government, probably due to the heavy problems they're facing in the country. Now, this was a real force, and things like this did happen, and this group was accused of sectarian violence. Now, they also had an accusation laid on them that it was Iran's motive to form a power base within Iraq, but nonetheless they trade and it gets heated, but they allowed them to leave and get an RPG for their trouble to take out the base that they found. The SWAT are vastly different from this force, and they've captured the rogue police partner, and it's killed by the rookie as he's starting to finally adapt to the SWAT and doing things, and he decides that, well, I'm going to kill him because I'm just so angry. And this was all despite the partner being blackmailed with threats to his family. They move on and take out the base, and we finally reach Waleed's family, and we learn that this is the true mission, to extract them, as the rookie then asks how far is the sun, hinting there at a sequel. I really like this movie, but I feel that moments from the first fight up until the occupied territory scenes, where there was a distinct lack of action, which made it a bit slow after the heavy hitting opening. Now, while I did like it, it was just nice to see a wider range of stories over here on Netflix. But let me know what you think down below, and please do drop a like as well and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a video, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.